But something happened in South Carolina last night that prompted me going live. And as a result, I just put this show together. Um, this is my first day back after a 39-day suspension or censorship by Facebook. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit, but I don't know who's out there. I'm going to talk for a minute and see who comes in. Hey, baby girl, it's nice to see your face. We're just going to play this by ear, folks. And if nobody shows up, I'm still going to do this because this needs to be said. And I just feel like that. I know some of you guys are already at church. I know some of you guys are doing some other things. I apologize for imposing on your Sunday morning joys, whatever they are, be it with your family or those that you love, or just doing your your prep for the week. So if you took the time out to hear what I had to say, I want to give a shout out, and I don't usually give shout outs because sometimes people like having their anonymity, but I'm gonna give a shout out to Miss Davis there because I've been watching, silently watching for police brutality and especially people that die at the hands of police. And when I saw the thing from the young man in South Carolina, I decided that I would research it and see where it was. So the only thing I could find was one local news outlet that covered the story. And of course, the spin is already there. They're already spinning the story to somehow subjugate and make this the dead guilty. They're already spinning the narrative to somehow minimize what the police did. Um, so let me just go ahead and get started. I know some people will have other things to do. So I'm going to, again, I wish you guys had signed up because then you would have gotten the bell, but I guess Facebook notifies as well. This is my first day back on Facebook since being suspended, since being censored 39 days ago for saying something that needed to be said. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit, but I want to go ahead and get this started. I'm going to say good morning to you. Let me clarify. Even though I said good morning, we are mourning yet another young black man who died by the hands of the police. Thus far, I've seen no national media coverage on the incident. As I previously stated, I only found one local news outlet that covered the story thus far. And as I also previously said, stated, and I'm saying this twice, and I'm pissed about this because since the whole George Floyd and that uprising that's shown a worldwide or a global light on America, it seems that the media has been taking a deliberate blind eye to police brutality, to police murders of civilians that somehow can't be taken into custody alive. And it's going on at an alarming rate. So I did a little research this morning. I put together this show and I'm gonna bring it to you. As always, I say I am truly humble that all of the things you could be doing, you choose to sit here and listen to what I have to say. You're not going to get this from Face the Nation. On any other Sunday morning, I too would be watching Face the Nation, Meet the Press, and some of these news shows to get other people's opinion. And then I also research stories in the BBC and other circuits, news circuits from around the globe to see how they see us without the media spin. So I want to say thank you for deciding to spend part of your joyous Sunday morning with me and give me a few moments, a minutes, as we mourn this 34-year-old Black man who died at the hands of police. This Sunday morning, I'm going to talk to you about a few things, but I'm going to make it brief as I can. We're going to talk about the alarming murder rate of Black people by the hands of the police. We're going to talk about Congress's failure to respond. We're going to talk about the media's lack of coverage while we are being murdered at the hands of the police. And lastly, we're going to talk about Facebook's unilateral suspension, resulting in us calling ourselves somehow Facebook criminals, are making just that we are in Facebook jail. So, with that being said, I'm going to say good morning to you. This morning's show is called We're Dying at the Hands of the Police. And I should put a precursor in there. I should say Mr. President. I should say Ms. Pelosi. I should say National Black Caucus. I should say Mr. Schumer. I should say Black preachers, Black clergymen. We are still dying at the hands of police, and nobody's talking about it. My name is Hank Batiste. This is OmitdaLogic. And this shit really makes no sense. But let's get into it. There has been a rash of unreported police killings. First of all, let me give you my fact check disclaimer. These statistics that I'm going to discuss during this podcast or this show may or may not, I doubt that they're comprehensive. I doubt that they're complete. And some facts may be quote unquote untrue simply because there are not enough places to research the story. There's not enough media coverage. There's not enough people talking about this to be able to cross-check some of the facts and figures. Simply put, these numbers, I suspect, are minuscule understatement of a problem that did not go away when we elected Joe Biden. Simply put, police murdering young Black and brown men did not subside when Nancy Pelosi was handed the gavel as the Speaker of the House. Simply put, Black Lives Matter made no headway when we, the people, gave the Dems a majority in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Simply put, Biden's nominee is being subjected to more scrutiny than all three of delusional Donnie's appointments to the Supreme Court. Simply put, I too am exhausted with the struggle of trying to keep the people that look like me, be you Black, be you white, be you Native American, Indian, Puerto Rican, Haitian, or otherwise, because we're so convoluted. I don't know about you, but when I look at my ethnicity, it says miscellaneous. There's so many, I have more acronyms in my ethnicity than the LGBT community. And I'm not making light of that. I'm just telling it how TI is. We are all tired of this uphill battle for the simple tenets of the Constitution that promises us to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and or property. And I say that because I have to make reference. No, folks, I'm not drinking this morning. I had to have me a little tea, and I got me some water too, because I knew I would get choked up. So I'm not spilling the tea. Just ironically, this is part of my morning constitutional. The original draft of the Constitution says life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. And I keep bringing it up because now we have a Democratic majority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate and a Democratic president who made all of these campaign promises. And now I feel like I was lied to because I was one of the first to say, run, Joe, run. I was one of the first to admit that this was not probably the best course of action, but given the set of circumstances, the person that I saw that could take down delusional, despicable Donald J. So now that I pump you up and I got others to believe, not that I was drinking the Biden Kool-Aid, but what responsible. So I feel it's necessary to hold you accountable because that's how I roll. Instead of doing some of the things that I would be doing on a Sunday morning, I felt so incensed. I felt so angry that the voices in my head said that I had to do this. Why it was fresh, why it was fresh on my heart, why it was fresh in my consciousness. So here I am, folks. People from the scene. Let me back up. Last night, a 34-year-old man by the name of Irvin D. Moorer-Charley, Moorer-Charley, was shot and killed 10 times while in police custody. This occurred in Columbia, South Carolina, and according to reports, it was the Richland County sheriffs and probably, you know how police, you put out a call and you get 43 different law enforcement from 43 different law enforcement backgrounds or offices, but there were several police who shot this young man while he was handcuffed, according to people on the scene. And again, I can't verify some of these things, but the local paper in Columbia, South Carolina did say he was in police custody and he was handcuffed. Now, the difference being, they said that he fought with police, but no police were injured. People on the scene said he had already been tasered, he was subdued, and he was handcuffed. People on the scene said that he may have had a stick in his hand. So if you're handcuffed with your hands behind your back, how do you wield a stick so that it threatens someone's life to the point that they put 10 bullets from who knows how many different guns? Because I promise you, they didn't just shoot one at a time. So I'm wondering about the 10 bullets. I really am. I don't know how many police shot, but I'm wondering if that number is accurate because so many details of this story is iffy and sketchy. Why? Because again, there is no national media shining the light on these local occurrences. What happens when national media steps in, even if they throw some spin according to their news desk or their news director, there's less room for cover-ups. That happens when news reporters look to the police station to give them access. When local newspapers look to the district attorney and the sheriff's office and the police station to give them access. So it's imperative that we have national news intervening. So let's recap. Last night, 34-year-old Irvin D. Moorer-Charley was shot 10 times while in police custody. They say he was handcuffed. They say he had already been subdued. They say that he had already been placed in handcuffs and tasered, tasered and placed in handcuffs, tasered and placed in handcuffs and tasered. So if you taser someone, if there are that many people on scene, can't you taser him again and remove the stick? To the dicey part of what I was saying. Some people say that this was according to the paper, that this was a domestic violence call. So I don't know if that's spin, but that's what the paper said. The people on scene said that Mr. Moorer-Charley had mental health issues. So if you're suffering a mental health crisis and they dispatch the police and you just happen to be a person of color, you stand a much greater chance of making it to the morgue, not having any mental health intervention to help you with said problem. So, moving on. According to Statista.com, now this was part of my research this morning. According to a very recent article on Statista.com, and I quote, sadly, the trend of fatal police shootings in the the United States, seem to be only increasing, with a total of 138 civilians having been shot, 9 of whom were Black, as of March 2022. As of March, let me say that one more time. Sadly, the trend of police shootings in the US seems to only be increasing, with a total of 138 civilians having been shot, 9 of whom were Black, as of March 2022. So that's just this year, people. The article goes on to say in 2021, there were 1,055 and 1,021 in 2020. So the numbers are on an incline. They're ascending. Finally, the article states, and I quote, the rate of fatal shootings among Black Americans, I capitalize that, was much higher than any other ethnicity. 38 fatal shootings per million of the population as of March 2022. That's greater than any other ethnicity. And the sad part about it is greater than some if you put 3 or 4 of them together. Again, every day our consciousness is being bombarded with the atrocities of PU-TIN and what he's doing to the people of Ukraine. But again, the media is failing to report what's happening to the Black people that are forced to remain in said atrocities. Excuse me, couldn't help it. My mama used to say, when you sneeze, you know it's the truth. So take it for what it is. Again, all of these atrocities that are happening around the world, we're so quick to shine a light on and so quick to ignore what's happening right here in America. Black people are still dying at the hands of police people. The problem is it's being silenced, it's being ignored. It's going on without media coverage. It's going on if there's not somebody or 2 or 3 people with a camera, a cell phone, taking the pictures. If Facebook decides, or Instagram, or Twitter, or any of these media outlets, or social media outlets, or establishments decide to air said atrocity, said murder of unarmed Black people. We know nothing about it. It's not that I don't feel for the people of the Ukraine. It's just that maybe it's me. For people that look like me are facing a far greater threat right here at home when police treat us so differently. Whether we are sleeping at home, whether we're sitting on our couch at home eating ice cream, whether we're jogging, or whether we're having a mental health issue that requires medical intervention, we stand a much larger threat of dying at the hands of the police than any other ethnicity. Moving on. So I got a couple questions to ask you. What happened? And this is directed primarily to Mr. Biden. This is directed directly to primarily to Ms. Pelosi and Mr. Schumer and Madam Vice President and the Black Caucus and all those other people that are named, Black preachers and this, that, and the other. What happened to the George Floyd bill? What happened to the promises of police reform to ensure that we could exercise our rights to carry a firearm without the fear of being murdered? Why is it that white men can not only carry an assault weapon, a long gun, a shotgun, a sidearm, or two, without the fear of being shot and killed? Why is it Kyle Rittenhouse can transport an assault weapon across state lines, get through a police barricade, engage protesters, murder two, and attempt to murder another who are incidentally the same color he is, that had the misfortune of supporting Black Lives Matter, be taken into custody because he was not arrested. Let's make that explicitly clear. Kyle Rittenhouse was not arrested. He went skipping down the street with the weapon, the smoking gun, literally in hand, skipping down the street after shooting 3 people, murdering 2 of those, and he was taken into custody by police. I don't even want to get into the situation with this idiot in South Carolina, again, South Carolina, who walked into a church and murdered 8 people, 9 people. I'm okay. So Kyle Rittenhouse, he transported an assault weapon across state lines. He gets through a police barricade. He engaged protesters. He kills 2, tried to kill 3. He was taken into police custody and treated like he was the victim, not the aggressor. He was peacefully taken in police custody, given a hand-picked, sympathetic judge who might as well have been working for the defense, and set free. Why? So I'll ask the question today and every day heading into the 2022 midterm elections. I'll continue to ask the question until it's on the lips of every American. I'll continue to ask this question until every person that looks like me, that has all of my ethnic background, takes it upon his or herself, be it with your black girl magic, with your superwoman or whatever you call yourself, with brother, whether you call yourself a G, if you call yourself a real man, if you call whatever you call yourself, until you take it upon yourself to pick up the gauntlet and fight this fight, is all falling on deaf ears. Whether you call it Congress, whether you call it the George Floyd, whether you call it police reform, if Congress can conceive, create, and pass and I purposely put the T in there. So let me say that one more time. If Congress can conceive, create, and past tense, or pass, PASS, a $13.6 billion spending package for aid for the Ukraine, given we have gone through this back and forth, given the fact that every time it's something for America, we have to keep asking this question: how are we going to pay for it? So if Congress can pass a $13.6 billion aid package for Ukraine without thinking about how we're going to pay for it, why isn't there a bill being discussed? Why isn't there a police reform act that we can make into law? Moving on. This is the last thing, then I'm going to get my behind out of here. Today is my first day back following a 39-day censorship from Zuck's Meta and his censors and his suspension. I just want to say we need to have a true. So Congress, if you're listening, Meta, if you're serious about your community standards, then we need to have a true community committee made up of people like me to appeal to when these biased Facebook suspensions are handed down that result in diverse opinions being silenced at the will of one person. Simply put, if you do not agree with my point of view, it does not give you the right to censor it. It does not give you the right to silence me at will. Again, and I say this, family, from the bottom of my heart, stop referring to yourself as being in Facebook jail. That is a censorship. When we have been conditioned to criminalize ourselves by thinking because we were suspended from posting something that we felt strongly about, that we are somehow criminal and we deserve to be put in an electronic jail like with Hannibal Lecter and was silent for a period of time, an arbitrary period of time. Jail is relegated for those who break the law, have a trial, are convicted, and sentenced by a supposedly impartial judge. But that's a whole another podcast for another time. Given the Kyle Rittenhouse, that would be a hell of a segue. But I'm not going there today. Facebook suspension is a censorship of a unilateral decision, period. It does not make us criminal. So let's stop referring to ourselves as being in Facebook jail. That's all I got for you this morning, today, this afternoon. Please go to my YouTube channel. I want to get my numbers up. See, if some of you guys was on on YouTube right now, you would hear me when I'm saying what I'm saying. So go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, give me some thumbs up. If ring the bell so that you know when I'm coming on. If you have subscribed already, share my podcast with a friend or family member. Ask them to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Because what we've already determined from this podcast is we're all on borrowed Facebook Zuck's Meta time. So we have to start putting together another network where we can communicate. And if the only way that you can get what I have to say from YouTube, then doesn't it make sense to sign up? I will see you this Thursday. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central. Like I always say, folks, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for purpose. My name is Hank Batiste, This is OmitdaLogic. This shit makes no sense. But hopefully, I made some sense of it for you. As always, in party, I wish you love. I wish you peace on this gracious Sunday, beautiful Sunday. And like your man, hair grease. I love you. I'm out of here.